$1,000. The society hopes to raise $50,000 for a heightened security at the cemetery. Board members say they're in contact with Cass County Sheriff's Office in connection with the vandalism. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum says COVID-19 shots will not be a part of required shots for children attending North Dakota schools. A CDC advisory panel suggested COVID-19 shots should be required annually for children. Burgum posted on social media that parents and families should be able to decide if that shot is right for their children. He also says North Dakota's immunization requirements are set by the state and not by the CDC. Health officials are warning of increased RSV cases in North Dakota. Officials say cases of the respiratory virus are showing up earlier than the season than usual and are leading to more hospitalizations. The virus typically causes cold-like symptoms, but tends to be more serious in young children and the elderly. Health officials say the best way to prevent the spread of RSV are good hand washing, covering coughs and sneezes, and avoiding kissing babies. And police are investigating a death at a Grand Forks mobile home park. Authorities say a woman was found dead on Saturday night in the 500 block of Circle Drive East. Police say there were no signs of apparent trauma. The woman has not yet been identified. This is Ty Schoenert with The Flag and AM1100theflag.com. First at the news when you need to know.
Employers, does the competitive job market have you down? Now more than ever, make certain your pay and benefits are competitive, and High Road Partners can help. High Road Partners is a full-service employee benefits brokerage and HR firm serving small businesses in the region, helping you design a strategy to attract and retain talented employees, locally owned and operated. Let's succeed together. Visit highroadpartners.com today. highroadpartners.com.
The early turnout is high. On Lisa Brady, Fox News. 2 weeks to the midterm elections, there's record turnout in Georgia. More than 1 million total votes already in a state accused by President Biden of discrimination and voter suppression.
I'm not going to get into specifics of what Georgia voters are doing. What I am saying is that, generally speaking, again, more broadly speaking, of course, high turnout and voter suppression can take place at the same time.
White House spokeswoman Karine Jean-Pierre not backing down from the president's previous Jim Crow comparison. Early in-person voting begins today in Wisconsin. The new Fox News Power Rankings offering a best-case scenario for Democrats of a 2-seat House majority, while projecting Republicans will take control with a 16-seat majority. The Senate still up in the air with 4 states considered toss-ups. President Biden says it would be a serious mistake for Russia to use a tactical nuclear weapon in Ukraine. This after Russia's warning that Ukraine is planning to use radioactive weapons, which the U.S. and NATO have rejected.
Experts think Russia could be setting the world up for a false flag operation using a dirty bomb, radioactive material wrapped in conventional explosives that would then give Moscow an excuse to escalate, even using some of their 2,000 tactical nukes on the battlefield in Ukraine.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin at the Pentagon, which says Russia has notified the U.S. it plans exercises of its nuclear forces, considered as routine annual drills. Closing arguments in Wisconsin, where Darrell Brooks Jr. is accused of driving into a Christmas parade on purpose, killing 6 people, injuring more than 60 last year.
Counts 68 through 73, hit and run causing death, in my opinion, are easily summarized as this: he never stopped.
Washtenaw County DA Susan Opper rejecting defense claims it wasn't intentional. America is listening to Fox News.
Smith & Wesson is committed to empowering Americans no matter what. With inflation hitting everywhere, we've decided to make a change. Now, you can buy a Smith & Wesson Shield Plus, our most popular concealed carry firearm, at an all-new low price, $100 off MSRP. We're absorbing the costs and passing along the savings to you so you don't have to compromise on personal security. Visit smithandwesson.com to find a Shield Plus near you. Smith & Wesson, always expect the best.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel vPro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
Generally clear skies throughout much of the area this evening with temperatures hanging in the 40s, and then we'll clear things out overnight tonight. We'll drop down to a low near 30 with a light wind out of the west-northwest. Winds turn to the south for your Wednesday, and a little more sunshine will help warm things up into the low 50s, and a few more clouds on Thursday with highs in the low 50s and a chance for a few light sprinkles, but sun returns for the end of the week and into the weekend with highs rebounding back into the 60s. From the Flag Skywatch Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki.
Today's weather is brought to you by Summit Carbon Solutions. The ethanol industry is critical for the North Dakota economy and our farmers. Summit Carbon Solutions is opening new economic opportunities for ethanol producers and helping maintain a strong market for corn growers while generating millions of dollars in new property taxes to help local communities support our schools and hospitals. Visit summitcarbonsolutions.com to learn how this project is driving the future of agriculture in North Dakota.
Live from the PetroServe USA studio, it's the Chris Berg Show, your daily dose of truth to help set you free.
Today, we got a very special guest in studio. We're going to be talking about your money. Very, very important as we see the inflation situation in our nation, Biden's oil policy, what it looks like with OPEC Plus, cutting 2 million barrels a day. Where is all that going to go? And then, of course, what's on the horizon? You see a lot of people from, i.e. JP Morgan, other quote-unquote experts suggesting, hey, look, 2023 could get pretty ugly, especially if the Federal Reserve continues to raise rates the way they are. In fact, a good friend of mine was down in Minneapolis talking to a banker over the weekend, and he said, yeah, we are starting to lay off some of our mortgage loan officers because people just simply are not looking to buy home right now. We see what's going on in the home market as well. And so we're excited to talk about what does all this really mean ultimately for you, your family, and most importantly, your dinner table. So join us today. He's the CEO and chairman of Inveniam, Pat O'Meara. He also was the chief investment officer for University of Mary, so he knows North Dakota really, really well and spent a lot of time on Wall Street and understands what's going on within the markets, not just locally, but also globally. So, Pat, welcome to the show. It's great to see you, my friend.
Hey, buddy, it's great to be with you.
So what I'd like to know from you, and let's start with taking it to people's dinner table right now. You see what's going on in the markets. You're traveling around globally. For the people here in Minnesota and North Dakota, what do you think is the single most important thing they should be aware of or be focused on as far as their own pocketbooks?
I think the biggest thing to understand is that inflation that has pretty clearly been, thanks, Chris, the inflation that's pretty clearly been underrepresented statistically for a couple different reasons, but the actual inflation for the average American putting food on their table at and buying from the grocery store, it's been understated statistically. In addition, the significant effect of quantitative easing, QE, and then now QT, where you're seeing the Fed with this massive balance sheet that basically normally when somebody sells something, right, they get cash and they reinvest it somewhere else, right? So even if they don't reinvest it in the stock market or the bond market, they're putting it somewhere else in the economy. The Fed was printed and bought up $9 trillion of assets to prop up a shaky market, right, for a long time, even though there were a number of Fed governors who said, don't do this. As they did that, they then said, okay, now I'm gonna de-lever the balance sheet, which means they're gonna sell. And as they sell, they weren't reinvesting, they were burning those dollars. So literally they're reducing the monetary supply. And as they did that, that's a $9 trillion foot stepping on the ask, just driving it lower and lower, right? Which really impacted the market. And so one of the things that as you know, the UK went back into QE, right? They're now printing more money to buy and prop up their balance sheet. What you're seeing is the Federal Reserve looking out for the banks, not for Main Street. And as they do that, this is something that people need to understand. when people say, "Oh, inflation's over, that's not happening anymore," I'm not a buyer of that, right? We're gonna see what people already have felt in their pocketbooks buying dinner, in other areas, and I think that we have a structural problem that it's going to take us a couple of years to shake out, and we need to understand that we're going to see a more robust bond market develop with higher interest rates. People are going to go back into that. And as the money leaves the stock market and goes into the bond market, or it leaves the alts market and goes into the bond market, we're going to see um, uh, really some uh, I would say doldrums in the prices of those markets over the next couple of years, and you're going to start seeing people who are efficient market theorists who say, "I'm just going to buy the index because the index is going to go up." You're going to see the difference between those who have been seeking alpha, where they're buying specific names, and you're going to see individual names outperforming others. There's not this broad macro push that's supporting all the markets, meaning $9 trillion of buying, right? Instead, you're going to see actual performance in the market, and businesses that have to outperform a cost of money that's rising. You're going to see the good versus the bad, and even the most profitable of the companies in the world, right? Apple, Microsoft, Google, or Alphabet, right? As these guys, Meta, have begun laying off, they're realizing that I just can't price, increases forever. They're laying off and they're trying to manage their companies more efficiently. Amazon, right, said they're in a hiring freeze, right? No more VP or above hiring. Microsoft started rattling their saber a little bit about this. And what you're seeing is people operating their businesses more efficiently. And that's where, it used to be those, the top five were 20% of the market, right? Those top five is 20% of the market. And there's been massive sell-off in tech. And if you just own those five and a bunch of other index funds, you're good. Now I think managers who are seeking alpha and can find alpha in the individual companies that are well run, or they have a cyclical tailwind or a technology innovation that's going to allow them to outperform, that's where you're going to need to be. So it's a more tactical environment because you don't have this massive strategic tailwind. I probably over answered that question.
No, I appreciate all the insight because you've been doing this for a long, long time. And I think one of the things I want to get at is, we've got another meeting from the Feds coming up on November 1st and 2nd. Many people are suggesting it's going to be another 75 basis points. But then you've got ARC's Kathy Wood coming out with an open letter to the Fed saying, whoa, 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 you guys are looking at the wrong metrics. And that's what I'm concerned about. And I want to get your take on, can they pull off a soft landing here? Because it seems to me they're always looking backwards rather than looking forwards.
So I am not one of these guys who tries to divine the tea leaves with the Fed on a forward-looking basis. And the reason is they're looking at data. They're looking at a lot of data. You look at the St. Louis Fed alone, and where I go, their data is pretty fantastic. The difference is the Fed takes care of their own, which is the Fed takes care of the banks. They don't take care of Main Street, right? And you need to understand that. Kathy's talking about the entire economy, and she's talking about Main Street, and she's talking about the average American putting food on their table. They're not talking about banking, right? And so the Fed is the axiom is the Fed takes care of their own, and their own is not the U.S. economy; it's the U.S. banks. Full stop.
So, man, I just to hear you say that, it's like, I know you're right. I want to get into that. One of the things you just mentioned, though, is, hey, look, Chris, these guys, they're the Fed. They're looking at probably the best data on the planet, right? We had, I hate to use names, but I will because it's on tape, so it's okay. We had the Minneapolis Federal Reserve President, Neil Kashkari, in town for an event recently, probably at least within the last 12 months. And he got on stage and he basically was like, yeah, we just didn't think inflation was going to be this pervasive. We're really surprised at how long and how hard it's been. And I'm thinking to myself, you guys have printed $9 trillion. Even I could see it was going to be bad. So how do they miss it?
So I think uh, I, I'm going to say two or three things to that. Number one, you got to understand that the current batch of Fed governors there's a huge amount of MMT kind of ideology that pushes their thinking. And MMT is modern monetary theory, right? And modern monetary theory is I think anybody who is alive with a brain should understand that it's broken. But Ronald Reagan's great quote is, an academic is uh, um, sees a bee flying and says is trying to prove why that's not possible, right? And I think MMT is going to live in academia for a long time, and our Fed governors right now are heavily academic, and that's a problem. And because they don't understand the realities of the market that drive banking and commerce as opposed to monetary policy, that 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 you cannot print your way out of the problem without a consequence. And then MMT believes that there are mechanisms to kind of immunize yourself from those consequences. Honig, who was the Kansas City Fed president forever, right, north of 20 years, and he was the lone dissenting member of the Kansas City Fed, or of the Fed, an FOMC, during all those early QE votes. And, he was vilified for this. And he understood the impact that this would have on the small banks, because his territory, Kansas City, is predominantly made up of small community banks, which serve small businesses, not JP Morgan, the big banks, the large institutions on the edge. And you have to understand, Fed presidents take care of their own, right? I mean, that's their job. And you need to understand that they're looking at a set of data. I'm not saying they've got the best data in the world. I'm just saying they got a lot of good data. But I believe they engage in spin. There's more than one example of where it's been proven through their minutes and what they said on publicly that those don't match. And we have multiple examples of that, within the last 15 years. And they're spinning politically the situation that we're in. And it is the unraveling for some of them that MMT doesn't work. Right. And I would say everybody should read The Lords of Easy Money if you want more about this. And so I don't want to talk specifically about what he's saying. And specifically, he's probably the most political of all of the Fed governors. I think there's no way to dispute that, right? And he is trying to enlarge the mandate of the Fed. He's an activist in many areas outside of monetary policy and supporting banking. But he has an axe to grind politically, and he was grinding it.
When we come back, you've heard Pat now a couple times, in case you're just joining us, the CEO and chairman of Inveniam, Pat O'Meara, is with us. And he said a couple times here, look, the Fed's going to take care of the bank and the bankers, not Main Street. And I think that's a really important piece for us to discuss, especially as we've talked many times on the show, when you start to look at what's happening within decentralized finance. Now, Pat's company, Inveniam, they are evolutionizing, if you will, it's the right way to say it, private market assets. And so you want to start to think about, hey, if the central banks, I know many of us, we feel like there's this thumb on us if you're in middle America going, hey, I'm working hard, I'm doing the right things, but I just don't feel like I'm getting ahead. So what can we do potentially to make a shift so that you've got more freedom, better quality of life, while these bankers take care of themselves, but not Main Street? If you want to email into the show, it's studio@chrisbergshow.com. Again, studio@chrisbergshow.com. You can also call us as well, 701-271-1100. Stick around, much more coming up.
Your farm and business depends on a reliable source for energy. PetroServe USA is the customer-owned co-op committed to being a stable source of fuel for your equipment and propane to dry your grain. We have the capacity to make sure you never run out of fuel and to keep prices stable. Dependability, competitive prices, and exemplary service. That's PetroServe USA, helping America fuel better.
PetroServe USA.
Call today.
Per gallon of unleaded 88 sold in October will go to North Dakota Women's Way.
If you're a rock star truck driver but wish you could be home more often as your kids get involved with more activities, you should check out Prairie Supply. Prairie Supply is well respected in the construction industry across North Dakota. They're looking for passionate CDL drivers all across the state and in South Dakota. You'll be well paid and receive full benefits, and they want to keep their people through an environment of success and advancement options. Drive a truck and be home most nights with the family, with openings from West Fargo to Williston and Minot to Grand Forks. Visit prairiesupply.com.
Listen, this company in Fargo is paying a $17 per hour starting wage, a possible $750 bonus, hourly increases after 90 days, quarterly wage adjustments, and health insurance benefit at 30 hours per week. Red River Human Services of Fargo. This will be a job you'll be proud of, helping adults with developmental disabilities with a culture and benefits nobody else can match. Apply now at Red River Human Services at rrhsf.org. That's rrhsf.org.
Have you been looking for a golf cart for the lake, the cabin, or the course? Now is the time. The largest selection of Club Car Onwards within 150 miles are available now at All Season Motorsports. 0% financing. That's 0% financing for up to 48 months on 2022 and 23 Club Car Onwards. 2023 lifted's not included. All inventory must go, so hurry in and take advantage. The largest selection of club cars. And at 0% financing. All Season Motorsports off I-94 and Cheyenne Street, West Fargo. Hurry before they're gone.
Brr, sounds like winter out there.
Did you just say?
Yep, they sure did, and it's coming. Hi, I'm Matthew, owner of Fix It Forward Auto Care. Winter's on the way, and it's time to get ready, including getting new all-weather tires designed specifically for our icy winter weather. Take advantage of our current rebates and availability, and our team can have you ready for winter today. Fix It Forward Auto Care, the name you trust for car repair.
Fix It Forward Auto Care.
Did you know you can move for free? Sound too good to be true? Action Movers has an exclusive program that gives you the opportunity to do exactly that. Call Action Movers and they'll set you up with a local realtor who will help you sell and or find a new home, whether it be in North Dakota or anywhere else in the country. In exchange, you'll earn $5 back for every $1,000 in your home sale or purchase price. No catch. Just move with Action Movers to get the cash back. Call them today, 701-566-5532.
Money, get away. Get a good job with more paying your okay.
John, thank you very much for playing this. Welcome back to the Chris Berg Show, your daily dose of truth to help set you free. Lose your mind and gain your freedom. We're coming to you live from the PetroServe USA studio. I want to remind you, if you're out and about, heading enter north or south on the interstate and you go by Harwood, they've got a big, beautiful, brand new store there with a Cafe USA. So not only is PetroServe USA helping you and America fuel better, you can stop in, jump into the Cafe USA, grab some lunch, breakfast, dinner, whatever fits your fancy. But also, Cafe USA is helping you feel better as well. You can fill up your car and your body all in one quick stop at the new Harwood store with PetroServe USA. Welcome back. With us right now, we're talking about just the economy overall, what's happening. Pat O'Meara, he's the CEO and chairman of Inveniam, incredible company right now that is using blockchain to evolutionize the private market asset industry. We'll talk more about that in a moment, but there's some companies he's working with where they've said, hey, Chris, because of what Inveniam's doing, we will go from $3 trillion of assets under management in the next 5 years to 10 trillion. Yes, with a T. That is a giant jump in just 5 years, all because of the tech with a company called Inveniam, and Pat is the CEO. So, Pat, I want to touch on this because when I talk to people, and you said this several times, hey, look, the bankers are going to take care of the bankers, not necessarily Main Street. There's a lot of people right now, when you look at inflation, I mean, you do the numbers, people right now, let's say they make 60 grand a year, they're working an extra month this year for free just because of inflation. It's going to pull 5,000, of their disposable income out of their income. So many people feel like, yeah, the central bank, they're not helping me. They're raising rates and inflation's going up. They maybe waited too long. To the average person, what do you do? What do you say to them right now? But hey, it's the banks. Like, how do you fight it?
So how do you fight it? There's a number of ways, right? That you do this, and it's a challenge because the U.S., our nation, had this great um, reserve currency globally, right? We had the reserve currency, and the Federal Reserve was supposed to be a good steward of that, and they squandered it and degraded the dollar as the reserve currency globally. Others are going to, and the good news is other bankers have equally degraded theirs, right? As modern monetary theory or MMT kind of caught vogue in academia, and it's a way to actually print dollars to deflate the assets of the saver and the middle class. And Daniel Ortega when he took over took over Nicaragua, he printed vast amounts of money, 300% of the monetary supply. So any cash saver was destroyed. So he quickly created two tiers, in the economy, right? The super wealthy and the working poor and the poor. And as he did that, people became more reliant on the government, right? And so this is a mechanism by which people become more reliant on the government, and it is something that's been done again and again and again. It's not new, and as they do this, and they use monetary theory as something to control fiscal policy. This is what we just saw happen in the UK, and we can talk more about that. But what happened is we bought a lot of things we couldn't afford, right? We just did. We ran up a big debt in the U.S. for a lot of different reasons, good, bad, indifferent, right? You can say whether it was a good idea for us to spend $8 trillion in Afghanistan or not. It's up to you. Was it a good idea for us to go into Iraq and spend the way that we did? 3.4 trillion, right? These are big numbers. In addition to what we did during COVID, in addition to what we did during TARP. And the interesting thing is we thought the TARP spending in 8 and 9 was big. Forget that, right? Now, what we did in COVID was huge. So that we have two options. Either we can grow revenue for the government, right, which is tax more, or grow the economy, or this is 30 plus year paper. You can deflate the asset and devalue the dollar so that over time you're making your debt service manageable. And when you look at the levers that the central bank is using in monetary policy for the government to help manage their own operations, when we made the choice after QE, the third vote for QE is when it went to QE as an emergency measure. We couldn't lower rates anymore. We had to do this new thing, QE. We're going to explode the balance sheet of the Fed. At that point, after the third vote, literally, you had a change in decision making that we're going to change the role of the Fed in the U.S. economy and the U.S. Republic, right? And this is a big deal, and so we have to understand that the Fed grew in importance to the U.S. economy and the U.S. economy's reliance on it, and rather than take the medicine that we needed to, that we gave ourselves these sugar highs, to keep us propped up, propped up, propped up. And a couple different times they tried to kind of wean themselves off, but the economy got addicted to it, and they were unwilling to experience any downturn in the market. And so we now need to wean ourselves off. And the way that we're going to wean ourselves off is going to hurt the banks a little bit. But what it's really going to do is through inflation, it devalues the dollar. It makes it harder for the middle class. And this is something where monetary policy, people need to understand, monetary policy has put more power into the government, more reliance on the government, and taken away freedom from individuals to be the primary agent of change in their own life, right? And this is something that we are, this is the reason crypto was created, right, as alternative, but also these DeFi structures and these new mechanisms to store value. And you can store value where you can literally get in and buy and trade real estate, where you have mechanisms, where you have better data so that you can instantaneously trade this. And to the degree that you're going to be able to have a store of value, that is an office building in Midtown Manhattan, a multifamily housing unit, or student housing here, outside NDSU, or we're talking about an infrastructure asset like a port, where you're going to be able to understand the state of that asset, have a third party value that asset, somebody like Apex, who has $3 trillion under administration, but they're going to go to 10, so not under management.
Sorry, under administration. Right? Thank you. Yes.
That they're going to grow that literally they can set the NAV on that so that you can buy and sell. So you have new mechanisms to store your value. And as you do that, what you're going to see is the market itself. Individuals are going to, instead of investing in just the largest of large companies, they're going to be able to support local economies, right? And there were over 200 exchanges 100 years ago, right? Everybody had an exchange. San Antonio had an exchange. Denver had an exchange. Seattle had one. Spokane, Portland, Minneapolis, and you had certain thresholds to be listed on there. But people, when they bought public companies, they were buying public companies that they themselves patronized, and they knew the owners, they knew the employees, they knew the shareholders. As there was a consolidation of exchanges, there was a consolidation in companies buying others up so you could meet the threshold, so you could still stay public. So today, even though the dollar amount, the size of the public markets is huge, as compared to the whole U.S. economy, the number, we have about 12 to 15%. And my number is a little bit old. That's why I'm upsizing myself to 12.5% of the number of public companies has existed 100 years ago. Think about that. That's amazing. And so what we're doing is we create mechanisms for people to invest in private assets more easily with real-time data, with observability and third-party marks. People are going to be able to store value in businesses around them. And that's going to open up new mechanisms of financing for the small developer, the small business owner. And that's what DeFi, and that's what coming out of crypto, and that's what better data married up with DeFi along these blockchain rails is making a reality for small borrowers. And so what we're doing is we're seeing mechanisms to create economic opportunity for this middle class, for the small business owner, for the asset owner, for the saver, where you're not just in a single set of assets or in markets that can be so swayed dramatically by the Fed. Does that make sense?
Yes. Pat O'Meara, CEO and chairman of Inveniam. If you want to find out more about what they're doing to evolutionize private market asset data, go check out Inveniam.io, Inveniam.io. Hopefully we'll hear more from Pat in the very near future. Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much, buddy.
Appreciate it a bunch. All right, yesterday we talked about potential term limits. There's a measure on the ballot coming up in November about term limits here in North Dakota. We heard the yay side yesterday. We had an email from a representative go, whoa, wait a second. This isn't all the information people need. I need to come on the show and talk about the nay of term limits. So Representative Jim Casper reached out. He's going to join us next. And also want to remind you, if you want to email the show, please do so. Very easy to do. studio@chrisbergshow.com. Again, studio@chrisbergshow.com. I want to say thank you to Red Wing Shoes for sponsoring our studio email inbox. You can find out more at redwingshoes.com.
Generally clear skies throughout much of the area this evening with temperatures hanging in the 40s.
Been looking for a golf cart for the lake, cabin, or the course? Largest selection of Club Car Onward golf carts within 150 miles is available at All Season Motorsports. 0% financing. That's 0% financing for up to 36 months on 2022 and 23 Club Car golf carts. All inventory must go. Largest selection of club cars at 0% financing. All Season Motorsports off I-94 and Cheyenne Street, West Fargo. Hurry before they're gone.
Cellar 624 on Friday, October 28th, because you'll have a fun night out and learn about wines from a certified wine specialist. Bring your friends, make it a date night for fun and fine wine at cellar624.com. Seats are limited, so right now, go to seller624.com and reserve your spot. Seller624.com, and come join us for fun and fine wine.
I'm David Chapman. I'm a candidate for judge. For 25 years, I've enjoyed tremendous success in our community, but it is time to give back. I love freedom, our country, and our Constitution. If elected, I will enforce the law as it is written, not as I wish it were written. I invite you to visit Chapman for Judge on Facebook, and I would be honored to serve.
Paid for by David Chapman.
Every livestock farmer knows they can't control the weather. Recent growing seasons have shown rain can be hard to come by at times. Now you can add protection with a pasture rangeland forage policy through Ag Country Farm Credit Services. PRF policies help protect you against future yield losses caused by a lack of rain. Better yet, they're customizable and can cover hay and pasture acres. To learn about a PRF policy, contact your local Ag Country office today.
Hi, Gus here from Precision Concrete Cutters Ramjack North. Due to the lack of the moisture in the soil, we've been experiencing more calls regarding foundation movement. Lack of moisture causes soil to contract and pull away from your foundation. If you notice dirt pulling away from your home, you'll need to make sure that you don't have bigger issues. Cracks in your sheetrock or outside walls, sloped floors, sticking doors and windows. Contact us today at 701-280-7038. Precision Concrete Cutters Ramjack North, your complete foundation experts.
Did you know that periodontal disease is the #1 health problem in small animal patients? Hello, I'm Dr. Calderwood, a veterinary dental practitioner at Prairie Winds Veterinary Center. By 2 years of age, 80% of dogs and 70% of cats have some form of periodontal disease. If you notice a change in your pet's playful habits, breath, or facial swelling, there's a chance that your pet is suffering from mouth pain. Prairie Winds Veterinary Center can help. Call us at 701-356-5600 or learn more at prairiewindsvet.com.
Brian Feuder with the NDSCS Apprenticeship Program.
NDSCS's apprenticeship program is really based on the typical apprenticeship models that have been in existence for many years. But currently there are over 1,000 apprenticeable occupations that are recognized by the United States Department of Labor.
Hi, I'm Dixie Bope. I'm the Director of Nursing at Four Seasons Healthcare Center. I encourage other companies to use the NDSCS apprenticeship program. They have a personal relationship with you. They help you out with advertising. They help bringing in new candidates, interviews, getting the word out.
Hi, my name is Pamela Morrow, Project Specialist for NDSCS Apprenticeship. If you're interested in a program, please reach out today by calling 701-231-6927 or go online to ndscs.edu/workforce-affairs and click on the Apprenticeship North Dakota tab.
See if the NDSCS Apprenticeship Program is for you.
Welcome back to the Chris Berg Show, your daily dose of truth to help set you free. I want to remind you, if you want to email into the show, very easy to do, studio@chrisbergshow.com. Again, studio@chrisbergshow.com. I want to say thank you to all the great blue-collar workers that are out there. One of the nice things that you should know is that if you're out there working hard, you need a great work boot that is customized to your foot. So you can go out there and be comfortable while you're out there saving America, keeping in this country on track. Please do yourself a favor. Go check out Red Wing Shoes at 3003 Main Avenue in Fargo. Again, that's 3003 Main Avenue in Fargo. Teresa there, she's got a tough love event going on. She'll give you some deals on a new pair. If you want to rehab a pair, whatever it is you want to do, Teresa is fantastic. Again, that is Red Wing Shoes. You can find out more at redwingshoes.com. So yesterday we had the yay on for Measure One, Jared Hendricks, talking about term limits. He has really been the tip of the spear on this term limit conversation, getting it on the ballot. So we had a conversation. I still, sometimes I'm like, well, I kind of see it. Someone's like, no, we don't need term limits. And so we got a great email from Representative Jim Casper, also running to be the leader in the North Dakota House this upcoming session. He's like, Chris, whoa. I need to set the record straight here. So I don't know as much as Jim does about this. So Jim, we'll let you just kind of share your thoughts on what you heard yesterday from Jared on the term limit conversation. You know what, let's just start here, because sometimes these measures, honestly, they can be confusing. You walk in the booth and you're like, Okay, what exactly am I voting for here? So you're clearly a nay on Measure 1, the term limit. So voting nay on Measure 1 does what exactly?
You vote no on measure number 1, which means you will keep the way the North Dakota legislators and the governor are currently elected the same. The term limits, people, their supposition is the longer you're there, the more corrupt you become, the more in bed you become with the bureaucracy and the lobbyists, which is absolutely horsepucky.
I'm stealing that one, horsepucky.
It's the exact opposite. The first thing that's important for the people to know, Chris, is the legislature is a part-time legislature. We're in session every other year for 80 days. So out of 300 or 730 days, we're in session 80 days. We're part-timers. We go there as part-time legislators. We have careers wherever we're at, or we're retired, whatever the case might be. We do the best job we can. It's a learning curve. It takes time. I was involved in North Dakota politics in Fargo for 20 years before I was elected in 2000. I drove out to Bismarck my first session in 2001, telling to myself, these guys better look out. I've been involved in politics for 20 years. I've testified out here. I know all these legislators. I'm going to make one heck of a big difference. I have a lot of answers. My first hearing, Industry, Business, and Labor Committee, the pros get up and present their bill. And I say to myself as I'm quietly sitting there, I'm with these guys. There's nothing that the other side can say that I'm going to go against these guys. Then the other side got up, the rest of the story. And after they were done, I said to myself, I like these guys better. And I said, Jim, you better wake up. You don't know anything. So after 20 years of experience, I was a freshman. It takes 2 or 3 sessions, Chris, to get to know the system, to get to know the process, to get to know how to draft bills, to earn enough experience to become potentially a leader. I was a vice chairman after my 5th session. I've been there now 11 sessions. I chair the Government and Veterans Affairs Committee since 2013. But it takes time in grade, just like any other learning process, to learn the system. So we need the institutional memory of legislators who are there and stay longer to be able to help guide the process. If we don't, it's going to be chaos. The argument that the term limits people seem to say is, well, you're there longer and we don't get turnover and we don't get enough turnover. I'll leave you this little chart that I had a legislative council provide to me, Chris. 2001 to 2007, the 4-year, an 8-year cycle, there was 86 members who turned over. That's over 60%.
Wow.
2009 to 2015, another 8-year cycle, that's 88 members turned over 60% turnover. From the next levels, you're within 50 to 60% turnover every time this term limit thing would come into a play. We don't need term limits because the voters term limit the people when they do not like what they're doing or they want someone else to do it. So that's my point. This group that came into North Dakota, Chris, they spent over $1 million already to try to first of all get their measure on the ballot. And as Secretary of State Jaeger found, there was a lot of fraud going on with that group. Unfortunately, when they appealed to the North Dakota Supreme Court, the Supreme Court overruled the Drew Wrigley and Secretary of State Jaeger's decision that there was too much fraud and they could not go on the ballot. And I won't get into too much detail, but there was a lot of fraud going on with that group. They spent $1 million to try to influence the North Dakota elections. We've had 6 states in the last 20 years overturn the term limits that they imposed on themselves. No state in the last 20 years has imposed term limits on legislators. This is a bad thing for the people of North Dakota. The term limit area is go to the ballot and vote. And you can see from the data I've cited, that's what's happening in North Dakota. Certainly there are some people that are there a long time. I've been there 22 years. And, when am I going to go? I can't say. I love it. I keep on going back because I think I'm effective for the people in Fargo and the people of our state. We need institutional memory. I'm running for majority leader, as you said. The majority leader in the House and the Senate has a lot to do with how the set of the sail is when you're in a legislative process. We negotiate with the House and the Senate with each other, and it's like a negotiation when you're in business. We negotiate with the governor. We negotiate with various members of our caucus. We negotiate with the public. We listen, we learn, we make decisions, and we implement legislation. And then we go home and we get back into the role of a citizen. So this idea of term limits is a disaster
for the people of North Dakota.
If you're just joining us, Representative Jim Casper, we're talking about Measure 1, which is the measure in regards to term limits. If you vote yay, you're saying yes to term limits. If you vote nay, you're saying no, let's keep things as they are. I want to talk about that in a moment, but you brought something up because I forgot about this with the Supreme Court decision that really overturned essentially what Secretary of State Al Jaeger said. You said, hey, Chris, there was a bunch of, what did you say? There was a bunch of fraud
There
within
was
this,
fraud going on in a lot of ways.
within these signatures. So then why would the Supreme Court overturn it?
What Secretary of State Jaeger did, there was a certain notary public who notarized a good majority of those 45 or so thousand signatures. There was very obvious fraud in many of those signatures. So you have a notary public who is notarizing, and you see fraud, and he notarized. So Secretary of State Jaeger, with the concurrence of Drew Wrigley, our Attorney General, threw out the signatures that this guy notarized. We can't find them. I talked with the Secretary Jaeger yesterday at Earl Strinson's funeral. I said, how's it going with trying to find this guy? He said, we can't find him in North Dakota. The address he had, he's not there. So he's probably skipped the state. So the fact of the matter is, the other thing is, the North Dakota law says you cannot pay signature gatherers by the signature. You can pay them by the hour. They were being paid by the signature. How many were being paid by the signature? We don't know. The Supreme Court, plain and simple, blew it on their decision.
Wow, that's a big statement. All right, so let's go back to the term limit piece. That's where I struggle. Like, if someone's really good at something, then let them do that. And if they're not, that's why this is a democratic republic. Let the people vote them out. But I also see the other side where some people are like, look, I'm tired of some of these guys that are in there, or women. Let's just cut them off at a certain time limit. So I can see both sides. You've kind of sold me, but it should bottom line be up to the people. Yes?
Chris, in a democracy, it's always up to the people. The people vote, the people make decisions. If they like what the representative is doing for them, they're going to be reelected. If they don't, they're going to be ousted. There's also people who come and go and choose not to run for reelection. I'm not saying that every legislator is defeated at the ballot. The average time that a legislator serves in North Dakota is about 10 years. This ballot measure would be limiting to 8 years. And then Jared made the comment yesterday, well, you'd be 8 in the House and then 8 in the Senate. Well, that's 16. Well, you got to remember this. There's 2 members in the House and 1 member in the Senate. Which guy or gal goes to the Senate? And are they going to be elected over there? And I can tell you also, Chris, that the House and the Senate operate differently. There's a different culture. So you might be comfortable in the House, and you get to that stodgy old Senate from my perspective. I don't want to go over there. I like my guys and gals in the House.
Yeah.
So the people are smart enough to know how to make the right decision.
Last question, I got 30 seconds. So let's say you become the leader in the House. Are you going to be accessible to the media?
Chris, without a doubt. One of my frustrations that we've had from our previous leaders is the lack of accessibility to the press, the lack of press conferences, but even as important, the lack of accessibility and communication to our caucus.
Yes.
I've talked to most of the legislators, because only the Republican legislators will vote for the majority leader. One of their biggest frustrations is we did not get information from our leadership. There was a small group that was making decisions. I'm going to expand it.
I want to continue this conversation really quickly. Will you be able, because you hear a lot of times where Governor Burgum's a little bit off, in his office during the session. I got 10 seconds. Are you going to be able to build that bridge with Governor Burgum?
I will reach out to Governor Burgum all the time. I will not agree with him all the time, but I will reach out to him, and we'll have great, amiable discussions and try to come to solutions.
Very fair. Representative Jim Casper, always good to see you. Thank you.
Nice to see you. Thank you very much.
And prayers for your family. We'll put it that way for now, because I don't know how much you want disclosed, but everything's okay. So stay with us when we come back. Great event coming up right here in Fargo. Probably haven't heard about it. That's where you got to stay with us. Coming up right after this.
Oil and natural gas help provide the things our counties and communities need. Taxes paid by the oil and natural gas industry fund schools, roads, and flood protection across North Dakota. That means we can run our farms and businesses and educate leaders for our future. It's one of the many ways oil and natural gas are making life better in North Dakota for generations. North Dakota's oil and natural gas, advancing the possibilities.
Are you wine curious? Or maybe you're a wine connoisseur. Come join us at Cellar 624 on Friday, October 28th, because you'll have a fun night out and learn about wines from a certified wine specialist. Bring your friends, make it a date night for fun and fine wine at cellar624.com. Seats are limited, so right now, go to cellar624.com and reserve your spot. Cellar624.com, and come join us for fun and fine wine.
The reviews are in. My coffee is a big hit. People absolutely love it. One of our listeners said, Scott, I've sampled a lot of coffee, but this one's different. It's rich, but also very smooth, low acidity. The finish is clean, and it has a pleasant aftertaste. Try some for yourself today. Go to mystore.com. Use the promo code Scott for up to 25% off. Your choices include whole bean, ground, coffee pods, light roast, medium roast, dark roast, and a decaf. Again, in coffee pods, ground, or whole bean, your choice. And guess what? It's roasted and packed right here in the USA. It's guaranteed, like all the products at MyPillow. Mike Lindell invites you to try his new product, My Coffee, by going to mystore.com. Mystore.com. Use the promo code Scott or call this number, 800-506-9028. 800-506-9028 or mystore.com, promo code Scott for the best coffee you've ever had, bar none.
John Hoeven betrayed North Dakotans when Hoeven voted for Biden's inflationary Green New Deal infrastructure ripoff. I'm Representative Rick Becker, independent Republican for Senate. Hoeven's vote with Biden was deadly for American oil, gas, and coal, and that's especially important to North Dakotans who drive cars, use electricity, and heat homes. John Hoeven's lost touch. Hoeven was first elected more than 20 years ago, back when Bill Clinton was president. It's time for conservative change. I'm Rick Becker. I approve this ad because Republicans must stand strong to stop Biden's woke, inflationary, open borders agenda from destroying America. John Hoeven's thrown in the towel and sold out to Biden. North Dakota deserves a senator to stop Biden's woke, Marxist agenda, fight for freedom, and take our country back. John Hoeven's failed. I'm Representative Rick Becker. I ask for your vote for Senate. RickBecker2022.com. Paid for by Friends of Rick Becker for Senate. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. RickBecker2022.com.
Welcome back to the Chris Berg Show, your daily dose of truth to help set you free. We all know that we are, 2 weeks away from Election Day. A lot of stress out there, a lot of anxiety. Some people dealing with depression, maybe not getting a good night's sleep. There is a possible solution for you. Very, very simple, non-intrusive. You basically take a nap for an hour to help maybe with your anxiety, depression, whatever it might be. It's Cirrus out of Fargo. Do some really, really good things. Even if you're dealing with long COVID, maybe you lost your taste or smell, give them a call at 701-566-5231. Again, 701-566-5231. That's Cirrus of Fargo. Speaking about just kind of getting out and enjoying beautiful Fargo, which, by the way, I did a video on this earlier today. In case you haven't seen, remember a while back we had a gentleman from a big time real estate company just bragging about Fargo. Like, he came in town, he was here for an event, and he was like, holy cow, what the heck is going on in Fargo? Like, Fargo is a happening town. And I think sometimes when you live here, you sort of just take that for granted that, oh yeah, there's, this new restaurant here, Jasper's, and there's this place. And oh, by the way, there's a place called Cellar 624 now. And well, today then in the Forum, and New York Times freelancer just wrote this raving review about Fargo and downtown Fargo. Of course, all she knew was the movie. She comes in thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be a bunch of, yeah, you betcha people. And there's going to be nothing to do here. And she's like, in the article, I wish I had some of these restaurants in Chicago. The shopping was fantastic. I think she's originally from New York and Jewish. And she says, look, best Jewish deal I've ever been to in Fargo, North Dakota. I say all this because things are happening here, and you can go out in the town here in Fargo, have a really, really good time. And one of those places that's new is Cellar 624. You can find out more at cellar624.com. They've got a wine tasting event coming up, and the general manager, Ashley Service, is joining us. Ashley, great to have you with us. Tell us what's happening with the upcoming wine tasting.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for having me. Well, we have a few coming up, which you can always find on our website that you just mentioned, seller624.com, or on our Facebook or Instagram page too. But a big one we have coming up is actually next Tuesday, so November 1st. We partnered with, it's called the Guild Somm, and they're a nonprofit international membership organization. So they're for wine professionals, and they work to elevate the wine and beverage community through industry education. So we are doing a tasting seminar on Tuesday at 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., which is kind of in the middle of the day, which is strange, but it is on also their schedule, and it is geared a little bit towards the industry and helping educate and bring more awareness to our industry workers about wine and what it's all about, and how to, understand it when it comes in and you get something or try something new, so they can sell and explain the product. But it is also a really great way if you're interested in wine at all, or deepening kind of your understanding about it. You're going to get one-on-one feedback and work with a master sommelier. His name is Chris, and he's going to be joining us via Zoom. And he's going to be helping and working with each individual to expand or broaden their knowledge on a blind tasting and what that entails and how to go about it. And so
It's
that'll
just
be
fun. Like, you go down there for lunch, you get to learn about some vino, maybe take some home for dinner that night or for over the weekend.
Yeah.
And so if you don't mind, just remind people where you're located at, how much does it cost to go to this event, and the website again, seller624.com. Again, seller624.com.
Yeah, so we're located downtown on the corner of Main Avenue and 7th Street, right across from the depot. Swan Duo's right out on the storefront windows. Otherwise, if you know where VIP Catering used to be, we're in the exact same location. So it's the basement of Block 6 or the Dewan Receive building.
Great. And how
And
much?
then, and for the event, tickets for this event are going to be $150.
So
Then
$150
you
bucks.
leave,
Go ahead.
yep, leave with a certificate for taking the course, and a whole lot more knowledge than you get coming in, or have coming in, excuse me.
Ashley, we appreciate it very, very much. You can check them out, seller624.com, seller624.com. Have fun. Tell Ramon I said hi.
Yeah, I will. Thank you.
All right, muchas
Appreciate it,
gracias.
Chris.
All right, tomorrow we got a great show in store for you. It is a Wellness Wednesday, so we're going to have a chance to visit with you about just your overall health and wellness, which right now I think is critically important, especially as we're heading into this winter season, this fall. But one of the things we're going to be talking about, I mentioned this recently, Sarasota Fog right now is seeing just an inordinate amount of teens, like young 18, 19, 20-year-olds. We're going to get a chance to visit. Hey, if you've got a son or daughter that's going through some depression, some anxiety, what are some things you can do? Also tomorrow, we want to talk about what is going on. Senator John Hoeven was down there this week. What is going on at the southern border? If you've not seen the numbers, we're going to break them down for you a little bit tomorrow, but it is staggering to see just how open our borders are. And this is why, I say somewhat in jest on the show often, but the more I see the numbers, the more I think, maybe people should be listening to me. I hope you're learning Spanish. Right now, North Dakota is like the fourth fastest Latino population, growing population in the entire nation, right here in North Dakota, which I think is a good thing. All right, be sure and join us tomorrow at 4 o'clock. This is the Chris Berg Show. I love you. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 4.